There's nothing hidden in your head the sorting cat can't see. So try me on and I will tell you where you ought to be.
I'm going to read a part of The Twits for you, one of my favourite books growing up. To pay her back for the glass eye in his beer, Mr. Twit decided he would put a frog in Mrs. Twit's bed. He caught a big one down by the pond and carried it back secretly in a box. That night, when Mrs. Twit was in the bathroom getting ready for bed, Mr. Twit slipped the frog between her sheets. Then he got into his own bed and waited for the fun to begin. Mrs. Twit came back and climbed into her bed and put out the light. She lay there in the dark, scratching her tummy. Her tummy was itching. Dirty old hags like her always have itchy tummies. Then all at once, she felt something cold and slimy crawling over her feet. She screamed. "What's the matter with you?" Mr. Twit said. "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit, bouncing about. "There's something in my bed!" "I'll bet it's that giant skilly wiggler I saw on the floor just now," Mr. Twit said. The what?" "I tried to kill it, but it got away," Mr. Twit said. "It's got teeth like screwdrivers." "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit. "Save me, it's all over my feet." "It'll bite off your toes," said Mr. Twit. Mrs. Twit fainted. Mr. Twit got out of bed and fetched a jug of cold water. He poured the water over Mrs. Twit's head to revive her. The frog crawled up from under the sheets to get near the water. It started jumping about on the pillow, because frogs love water. This one was having a good time. When Mrs. Twit came to and the frog had just jumped onto her face, this is not a nice thing to happen to anyone in bed at night. She screamed again. "By golly, it is the giant skilly wiggler," Mr. Twit said. "It'll bite off your nose." Mrs. Twit leapt out of bed and flew downstairs and spent the night on the sofa. The frog went to sleep on her pillow.
Hello to the children of Parklee Primary School. Happy World Book Day! Mine and Philip's favourite children's story is the story of the little mole who knew that it was none of its business. Such fun. One day, the little mole poked his head out from underground to see whether the sun had already risen. Then, it happened. It looked like a little sausage, and the worst thing was that it landed right on its head. "How mean!" cried the little mole. "Who has done this on my head?" But he was so short-sighted that he couldn't see anyone around. Oh, silly little mole, what a belting little story. Goodbye.
Night time in the supermarket, but Super Potato and the veggies were going for the burn. "Come on, veggies, you can do it." "Oh no," shouted Pear, "Broccoli's in the bagging area." "Quick, Grapefruit, turn off the conveyor," shouted Sweet Potato. "For you." "What's the point of all this nonsense?" said Carrot. "To keep fit, of course. Whoever heard of an unhealthy vegetable?" Sweet Potato grinned. "Just look at yourselves. It's time we got you fruit and veggies into shape." Sweet Potato thought for a minute. "I know, let's have a sports day," he said. Everyone groaned. "There'll be prizes." Everyone cheered.
Cave baby's lucky. He lives inside a cave with his mum who's good at painting and his dad who's very brave, and a saber-toothed tiger and a hyena and a hare and a grey woolly mammoth and a big brown bear. Cave baby's lonely. Nobody will play. Daddy's busy being brave. Mum says keep away. Everything is boring. Then suddenly it's not. For in a corner of the cave he finds a brush and pot. Spots on the hyena, stripes on the hare, stars on the tiger, squiggles on the bear, zigzags on the mammoth. This is lots of fun.
Hi all, my favourite children's story is Roald Dahl's Matilda. Now, most head teachers are chosen because they possess a number of fine qualities. They understand children and have the children's best interests at heart. They're sympathetic, they're fair, and are deeply interested in education. Miss Trunchbull possessed none of these qualities, and how she ever got to her present job was a mystery. She was above all a most formidable female. She'd once been a famous athlete, and even now the muscles were still clearly in evidence. You could see them in the bull neck, in the big shoulders, in the thick arms, in her sinewy wrists, and in her powerful legs. Looking at her, you got the feeling that she's someone who could bend iron bars and tear telephone directories in half. Her face, I'm afraid, was neither a thing of beauty nor joy.
If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when the person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. You can have a wonky nose and a crooked mouth and a double chin and sticky out teeth. But if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams and you will always look lovely.
Drew back and he started to shake. "I'm sorry," he spluttered. "I've made a mistake. It's nice to have met you, but no, I must fly." And he spread out his wings and was off through the sky. Then down flew the bird and down jumped the frog. Down climbed the cat and phew, said the dog. "Oh, thank you," the grateful witch cried. "Without you I'd be in that dragon's inside." Then she filled up her cauldron and said with a grin, "Find something, everyone, throw something in." So the frog found a lily, the cat found a comb, the bird found a twig, and the dog found a bone. They threw them all in and the witch stirred them well, and while she was stirring she muttered a spell. Iggity, ziggity, zaggity, zoom! Out rolls a truly magnificent broom, with seats for the witch and the cat and the dog, a nest for the bird and a shower for the frog. "Yes," cried the witch, and they all clambered on. The witch tapped the broomstick and whoosh! They were gone.
Mandalorian from Mandalore. This is the way. My favourite children's story is The Wind in the Willows. But what I wanted to ask you was, why won't you take me to call on Mr. Toad? I've heard so much about him, and I do so want to make his acquaintance. "Why, certainly," said the good-natured rat, jumping to his feet and dismissing poetry from his mind for the day. "Get the boat out and we'll paddle up there at once. It's never the wrong time to call on Mr. Toad. Early or late, he's always the same fellow, always good-tempered, always glad to see you, always sorry when you go." "He must be a very nice animal," observed the mole, as he got into the boat and took the sculls, while the rat settled himself comfortably in the stern. "He is indeed the best of animals," replied Rat. "So simple, so good-natured, so affectionate. Perhaps he's not very clever, we can't all be geniuses, and it may be that he is both boastful and conceited, but he has got some really great qualities, has Toady." Rounding the bend in the river, they came in sight of a handsome, dignified old house, mellowed red brick, with well-kept lawns reaching down to the water's edge. "There's Toad Hall," said the rat, "and that creek on the left, where the notice board says, 'Private, no landing allowed,' leads to his boathouse, where we'll leave the boat. The stables are over there to the right. That's the banqueting hall you're looking at now. Very old, that is. Toad is rather rich, you know, and this is really one of the nicest houses in these parts, though we'll never admit as much to Mr. Toad. This is the way."
Hello, my dears! I've just found a book in my fridge. This is a tale of a tiny snail and a great big grey-blue humpback whale. This is a rock as black as soot, and this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. "How long to sail?" said the tiny snail. "Oh, my dears!"
Can you guess my favourite story? We're going on a bear hunt. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh. Mud. Thick, oozy mud. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh no! We have to go through it. Guess who?
Harry Potter was a highly unusual boy in many ways. For one thing, he hated the summer holidays more than any other time in the year. For another, he really wanted to do his homework, but was forced to do it in secret, in the dead of night. And he also happened to be a wizard. It was nearly midnight, and he was lying on his front in bed, the blankets drawn right over his head like a tent, the torch in one hand, and a large leather-bound book, A History of Magic, by Bathilda Bagshot, propped open against the pillow. Harry moved the tip of his eagle feather quill down the page, frowning as he looked for something that would help him write his essay. Witch burning in the 14th century was completely pointless. Discuss. The quill paused at the top of a likely-looking paragraph. Harry pushed his round glasses up his nose, moved his torch closer to the book, and read.